interviewing. You know, that's what they doing. Stick around. It's about to get all roomy up in here. Remote Ruby starts now.
Did you stay up late last night to get your Nintendo Switch too?
No.
Shame on you.
I already decided I wasn't going to get it.
Shame on you. Even more.
I know. I spent too much time with Drew, and I'm like, number one, I'm not going to get any handheld. But number two, if I did, I'd probably get a Steam Deck.
Yeah, I love my Steam Deck. We mostly got the Switch 2 for Brooke, but I got the pre-order and like could have picked it up at 11 p.m. last night. Instead, I was in bed. So they didn't open till noon, which is 8 minutes past noon right now. So I need to go pick that up after this. But I'm excited for some new Mario Kart after like
I would love
47 years.
Love to play some Mario Kart. Shoot, now I know where to come play it.
Yeah, I got to get a second set of Joy-Cons, but everybody said that the Joy-Cons are way better. They're like bigger, which is nice because I forget which one it was. One of them would hurt my hands playing with just the Joy-Con by itself, which is what we typically did. So, yeah.
Looking at the design, the only thing I was concerned about is it looked like in the earlier designs, I don't know if it changed, but there was like a chip sticking out that you would push the Joy-Cons into.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way that doesn't get snapped.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well that's going to work. So, yeah, I'll be curious to see what happens with that. The screen looks way better, whatever. Not an OLED, though. Guarantee you they will have the Switch 2 OLED version in like
gotta hit that upsell.
A year or two. So,
yeah.
Yeah. But I'm excited. Colin's coming in Saturday for a week. So I said, we're going to have to do some Mario Kart tournaments and stuff. I'm curious to see what Jackson at 2.5 years old, if he will like comprehend playing the game or if we just have a disconnected controller that we give him.
I have little brothers, dude. I know all about that disconnected controller life.
Yeah. And like Mario Kart's good, at least in the past, like the auto steer and everything. So like kids can actually sort of have fun. So yeah.
I don't know about you, but I would personally never play Mario Party with my boss because he might not be my boss after that.
Man, I haven't played Mario Party in a long time.
I haven't played Mario Party without someone getting hurt in a long time.
It's the only way to do it.
Dude, Mario Party is a dangerous game, dude.
Man, what's new in Braille's world?
I have no idea, dude. I've been at the dentist the past 2 weeks in a row.
Oh,
so
no.
I feel like I'm waking up off of a dream. Like, you know how you wake up in a nap and you're like confused? You're like, something feels weird. And why does my mouth hurt? Good times.
Yikes.
But I should be done with that for the foreseeable future, at least.
That is like one of my least favorite things.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
mine too.
Was it 4 or 5 times I had surgery to get teeth pulled because my baby teeth just never fell out. And I ended up having 2 rows of teeth like a shark. That would have been pretty cool, though. I probably should have just stayed a shark.
Yeah. I get anxious about going to the dentist, and I always thought that was just normal. And then the dentist was like, actually, we can give you something to like maybe help with that. And she was right. It did really help with that, but it doesn't feel great the next day.
Yeah, that's no fun at all.
It was fun while it lasted.
Yeah. One of the times when I was getting my teeth pulled, I had the mask with nitrous and stuff because they didn't put me to sleep on that one. Most of the times they did. I remember in the middle of them pulling teeth, I wake up because they bumped the mask. And I'm like, why are they just yanking at my entire head? And they like noticed, I guess, before I could feel it. But I could tell they were like moving my entire body and pulling on this tooth. And I was like, oh God. And then the worst story ever. My sister got teeth pulled. And in recovery, the doctor's coming in and checking things and realizes he forgot to pull one of them. And the look of despair on my sister's face was like, just kill me. I don't want to
Me
do this
too.
again.
Me too.
At least it wasn't that bad.
Well, so I don't know what's actually going on in Rails world. I'm starting on a new project at work, which has me a smidge overwhelmed at the moment, but I think
Is it a good change of pace?
Yeah, it's a good change of pace. I'm at this point where like part of the project, I'm like, okay, perfect. A to Z, 1, 2, 3, check, check, check. This is easy to parse out like a task list for. And the second part of the project, I kind of like just looked at for a while and I was like, I just really don't know exactly where to start. And that's not a good place for me to be in, because when I don't know where to start, I don't do anything.
Yeah, I feel you on that. And that is fairly common, I feel like, of a situation to run into, you know? When you start something new and you're like, I've never done this before. I don't even know what to begin doing.
Yeah.
That can be tough.
Yeah. And especially if you have some questions that you're not sure if they need to be asked or not. And then they lead to more questions, which lead to more questions, which are like, wow, did I just overcomplicate this, or is it really this complicated? And at this point, I'm like, I just need to write code.
Right.
Stop thinking about it.
That's what I was going to say, is sometimes it's not possible to break it down because you don't know enough to know what you actually need to build. And then you pretty much just have to take a stab at it and then reevaluate after like a day or two or something. Once you've gotten deep enough into it where you're like, this area seemed super easy, but it's going to take so much time. Now I need to reevaluate accordingly and whatever. Because sometimes the greenfield stuff just seems so easy or whatever, or it seems so daunting. And then you break it down and you're like, actually, this isn't that hard. But until you get to that point, it can be frustrating.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so I've had a few days off. And I just got back from our retreat. So it's been a weird kind of 3 weeks for me since I haven't worked a full week yet.
Right. I just this morning recorded a screencast because last week I was putting together some like improvements for meta tags and stuff on Learn Hotwire, meta descriptions and proper titles, and you can use the like link, rel, next, and previous. So like the buttons and stuff that you do next lesson, whatever, can actually be like meta things too. I was looking at that and I was like, you know, I know that people have used the meta tags gem and stuff like that. And I was poking at that. It seemed fine. It doesn't really seem necessary to have to grab a gem for this. Like,
no,
especially because to set stuff, it's like, yeah, just set @page title in your controller or call this method in your views. And I was like, that seems overkill. So I ended up building this thing that turned out super slick. I'm really happy with it. And I extracted it into Jumpstart. And then this morning made a little screencast, lightweight version of it to teach people how to do the same kind of thing. But what I came up with was, let's put it in current attributes. Let's have meta tags as it current.meta tags defaults to a new instance of this meta tags class. That class has active model on it, so you can define attributes for the title and the description and the open graph images and whatever else. And then just render current meta tags in your view, in your layout. And it uses render inside the meta tags class to actually like render those tags out. And I was like, this is slick because current makes it so I can easily do the same thing in my controller or in my views, wherever it makes the most sense. I can use that with active model to like assign attributes really easily to that, like title and description and image. I can use a helper method to say like, this lesson, go pull the title and description from it and its thumbnail image, use that as the open graph image. So I could do that in the controller, the views, before action, wherever I want. And then render all that out super slick and everything. And it's like, it's just using all these basic Rails things. I'm not polluting a whole ton of instance variables all over the place. It's page title and whatever. It's just one variable that I interact with and assign things to. And I was like, man, this turned out really good. So that's been a fun thing to work on the past few days. Colin's now taking that and putting it in Go Rails and the Jumpstart marketing side and Hatchbox and stuff. But
I ran into an interesting meta tag issue this week.
yeah.
Oh my God. You know that meta viewport tag that is always in every HTML thing, whatever.
Uh-huh.
I was helping a buddy debug a issue with a container query. All right, let's just do it in a little index HTML file so we can figure out exactly what's going on. Why is it doing one thing in Safari, one thing in Chrome? And X amount of time later, we pulled in someone else, and that person was like, you don't have that meta tag, that viewport meta tag at the top of your HTML file. And when you added that, all of a sudden the container query started working. And I was like, dude, that is the most frustrating thing I've ever seen in my whole life. It's like that tag that you always see, but you just gloss over. You're like, oh, it's used for something.
Right.
Well, here we are. And it only took 4 senior engineers to figure it out.
That's funny. Yeah, I've definitely done that before too. Or, are you serious? I glossed over that because it's just something I never think about.
Yeah.
Until the one day I need to know about it. We accidentally deleted it or whatever. That is hilarious. Production monitoring can be complicated. There are tons of tools and techniques, but you just want to know that your app is up and your users are happy. When your customers encounter a problem, you need clear, actionable intelligence, not walls of charts and reams of logs. That's why they built Honeybadger, the monitoring tool you've always wanted. A tool that's there when you need it and gets out of your way when you don't. With Honeybadger, you'll know when critical errors occur and which customers are affected. You'll be able to respond instantly when your systems go down and improve the health of your systems over time. Plus, you can fix problems before your customers can even report them. Honeybadger is the application health monitoring tool built for you, the developer who cares about a quality product and happy customers. Start monitoring today at honeybadger.io. It's free to get started and setup takes less than 5 minutes. Once again, that's www.honeybadger.io.
Back to your meta tags. I've always been like kind of mildly suspicious of stuffing too much in current attributes for no good reason. I have no proof of that, but
the other thing with that too is because it's current attributes, you have it reset automatically every request and it's independent too.
See,
which was another
that to me is
thing.
Not a feature necessarily. I am not suggesting we change it at all, but that sometimes is the only thing that like kind of annoys me about current attributes. It's like sometimes I want to use it like global state, which it's not, but it's like,
it is for the request.
It is for the request.
That's like its purpose, its entire purpose. Yeah.
It would be nice if sometimes I could use it for like the whole session and then I wouldn't have to set it in you set it in the base controller and you're fine, but
yeah,
I don't know. I've run into certain situations with it.
So yeah, anyways, it felt really nice because it was like just such a simple thing to put all together there. So I was happy with how it turned out because you can use the view context to render an inline block of ERB. So rather than even having to have a separate template file, it was just, render this little snippet of ERB right here in the meta tags class because there's not a lot of code anyways. And eventually, maybe, if you had a ton of things or it was more complex and there's conditionals and whatever else, you might want to do something else. But for our case, it's pretty much always render a title and a description. If there isn't a custom one, fall back to the default. And that was it. And it turned out slick. I was happy with it.
Now you need to adapt it to work with JSON LD for Google's like structured markup.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about those.
Because Google does have a course list. I assume that means they have a course.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Like a schema.org stuff.
I love that stuff and I don't know why. I love that structured data in the head tag.
I love JSON.
Just love JSON, man.
Yeah, I'll have to do that too because that shouldn't be too hard. And it's pretty much just adding another tag or whatever in there.
The problem with the schema stuff, you can do the bare bones and that's easy and simple. But if you wanted, you can get really intricate with it. And that's when it gets sticky.
Yeah, that was one of the things like reading the meta tags gem was like, you got to do some weird hash syntax if you want, because like it expects a hash But if you want it to treat the hash like an array, then you have to have like a key of underscore or something in your Ruby instead of just giving it a hash. And I was like, this is odd. I forget what that specific thing was for, but I've done that JSON LD stuff with schema.org a while ago for other things, but haven't looked at like a course, those objects or schemas. So I'll have to check those out. There's so many like rabbit holes you can go to with some of this stuff too.
Oh yeah. You can implement the bare bones and that's probably fine, but there's so much intricacy like the deeper you go down.
I assume it's this product type. Products are things. And then products are obviously very, very different for variants and item conditions. And like they're just trying to define a schema for any type of product you could ever imagine, which I'm sure like Google Shopping and stuff needs to think about those types of things. But man, you're trying to define schemas for literally anything ever. That's not easy. That's complicated.
It's a really interesting like data architecture problem though.
Yeah, because there's so many things that are like generic enough that they don't need one-off types, but like they have listed here like vehicles, dietary supplements, drugs, individual product, some products, whatever the hell that is. Placeholder for multiple similar products of the same kind. Yeah. Like so many little nuances to this. I'm sure that's probably a fascinating job if you're like a data person at Google. Yeah, let's categorize all the properties of every product you can ever imagine. Quite the challenge, I would imagine.
Yeah, as soon as you said it, my eyes like started glazing over. I'm like, that sounds like a lot of work.
For somebody else, yes. Yeah, it's description, product, any offered product or service. For example, a pair of shoes, concert ticket, rental of a car, a haircut, or an episode of a TV show streamed online. They're wildly different, and the data you need for each one of those is quite different. Fascinating. Yeah, I need to read up a little bit on that and see if there's anything specific for like courses and stuff. That would be good for there. I think I used it in the past, most recently doing like the Jobboardly stuff initially before Jason took that over, and jobs and job postings are pretty obvious, like common thing to show up in Google's job search. So that makes sense, but it's a lot more straightforward than products of all kinds.
Right. And then what is a thing? And what attributes should a thing have? Like,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a fascinating thing because it's just so broad. It's not like you're in one. Right. Pun not intended, but appreciated.
One of the hotels with RailsConf filled up. Maybe we mentioned that.
Yeah.
Good, because I haven't gotten a ticket, my hotel ticket yet.
It's the Sheraton where the conference is at is completely full, which is awesome. Good to see.
Shout out to my procrastination.
Yeah. Yeah, the other hotel's like pretty close by, I think. So not too bad. I know the Rocky Mountain Ruby CFP is open. So that is something you should submit to if you want to go to Rocky Mountain Ruby and speak there. That's October 6th and 7th. Not sure when the CFP here ends. June 30th. So
you got some time.
Yeah.
So you got until June 29th to start thinking about it.
Yeah.
Imagine the last time you had to deal with request timeouts or backed up job queues in your prod environment. Frustrating, right? Here's what that means. You're either not autoscaling or your autoscaler is not doing its job, because autoscaling is supposed to prevent scenarios like this. That's why we built JudoScale. JudoScale is the autoscaler that works for Heroku, Render, Fly, and AWS. With JudoScale, you'll smoothly handle traffic spikes while dramatically lowering your hosting costs. Do you want a rock-solid production environment? Visit judoscale.com/remote-ruby to learn more.
What is it? 33 days left for RailsConf 2025 and 91 days left till Rails World. That's crazy. I do like having this on my terminal.
Do you?
You seen these?
No, I haven't. What is that?
TRMNL.
This is showing me a paper screen.
Yeah, it's an e-ink display
E-ink.
with a little ESP32 on it. Ryan Culp and their team use trmnl.com is their website. He sent me one. Basically, yeah, this little e-ink display that refreshes every like 15 minutes to an hour. So like if you don't refresh this thing very often, because it doesn't take any power, it'll like wake itself up, download the next image and display it, and then put itself to sleep. And this thing can last for like 3 months
Really
without being
impressive.
charged, which is cool. So
Yeah.
like you could put it on your wall, hang it for 3 months, but actually have this automatically updating display. They're using Ruby and Rails and stuff to build it out too. You like just generate an image or whatever. So you can build plugins and stuff, and you generate images and then it'll embed them and display them. And you can do like multiple sizes or whatever, so that what I just showed you, I have 2 timelines or whatever, like days until X event. And you can either make that take up the entire display or half the display vertically or horizontally, or you can do like a big one and 2 smaller ones on the side. You get to like control all that, so you can do whatever you want, which is pretty sweet. It's cool. So you can connect your Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, your Stripe account, all kinds of cool stuff. It's pretty sweet. I like it.
Sounds like fun. I need
Yeah,
to get a little
they're-
side project going here.
Oh, the other cool thing is you can buy their device, which is like not super cheap. It's $140. But if you have a Kindle or another similar thing, you can run their software on it and turn that old Kindle you don't use into a terminal device, which is sweet. So it's pretty cool that they got, and they also have like build your own stuff. So you can like buy your own screen and solder it onto a board and flash their firmware on it.
That's
and use
awesome.
that, which is cool. So I like it. It's fun to just have around. I finally made an update for pay. So when you like add pay to one of your models, we had like a payment processor association, which is like your default pay customer. But we also added like has many through. So you have many subscriptions through your pay customers, has many charges through those. When I originally wrote it, I wasn't really thinking, but subscription's a pretty obvious model name for somebody to have for notifications or whatever it is, all kinds of things. Charge, maybe less so. That is more specific to payments. But Don Felker made a PR the other day and was like, yeah, we should rename this. And I was like, yes, we should. And we finally shipped that in pay version 11. But that was one of those things that I was like, man, it just seemed like a simple, easy thing to do originally and made it convenient, but it really wasn't the right call.
Right.
And it sucks to have to go back and make a breaking change like that, but finally did. And that's been really nice. It's just one of those things, like a cloud over your shoulder where you're like, I know I need to do this, but I'm just putting it off because it's a breaking change and I know it's annoying. But
Why would you even say that?
the cool part was I went into Jumpstart and was like, all right, we'll upgrade Jumpstart to that. Literally just have to go find any like current account .subscriptions and .charges and then just add the pay _ prefix to it. And it was like, oh, this wasn't so bad after all. Like, why
Right.
did I push this off for so long? So that was like super satisfying.
You're speaking to the crowd right now, dude. I do that at least once a day.
You make breaking changes once a day?
No, I have things that I put off indefinitely and then finally do them. And I'm like, why didn't I just do that?
Yeah. I hear you.
So you just named it pay subscriptions?
That was it. Like,
Yeah.
Don's PR I didn't end up merging because so internally in pay, we have pay customer, pay subscription, yada, yada, but they're all in the same namespace. So when you get into when you're using a pay customer, we just have has many pay. You're in a pay customer already in the namespace. So you have has many subscriptions. So you can say like current account .payment processor .subscriptions. And he had renamed them all to pay subscriptions, which added like a little bit of redundancy there. If you're already operating off of a pay customer, we don't need to also say pay subscriptions.
I would agree.
So that PR that he had made touched a lot because every single subscriptions reference we made internally had to be renamed. And that was much simpler the way I ended up doing it, which was only the public facing thing added to your pay model, your account, your user, or whatever. That was the only one I changed. But it was one where I had to set as many pay subscriptions through pay customers, but you had to set the source on the has many as well, because it was like looking for a pay subscription inside the pay customer. And that may have been why he did that originally, but I was like, oh, we should just set source. Then we can just have it rename itself internally. And that was good to go, which is sweet. Oh, one of the things I did want to mention, because I posted this on Twitter too. Do you guys use action text or tricks for anything? You guys use your own editor?
We use our own.
Yeah. This was, I think, originally just with upgrading tricks in mind for a security update, but Rails main has a new gem it depends on in action text for action text -tricks. So tricks, you either have to pin the NPM module and download a copy to your vendor folder if you're using import maps, or if you're using ESBuild or Vite or whatever, have a separate copy of tricks JavaScript in your app. But normally you grab it from action text. And the issue with that is they can't release an updated version of tricks unless they release a new version of Rails, which doesn't happen that often. So they extracted the JavaScript and CSS out into a separate gem. Rails main will depend on that, but it doesn't have any version constraints. So you can pull that into older Rails apps. So like Rails 8 or 7 or 7.1, 7.2, like all those can use this gem just the same. So your import maps can grab it from that gem instead of action text, which is nice. It's probably also conveniently around the same time that the Markdown new editor that Jorge was teasing is also going to be able to just offer a gem, and you'll be able to switch whichever one you're wanting to use. But I thought that was super nice because one of our customers for Jumpstart was like, hey, if you run bundle import map audit, there's a newer version of tricks that has a security fix. And I was like, yeah, we already vendor the JavaScript in Jumpstart, so we can just pin the tricks JavaScript again and update that. But we don't have to do that anymore. We just use that gem and update the gem, and we don't have to have a separate copy of the JavaScript in our app that we maintain, which I love not having to.
Love that modularity.
Yeah, it was funny. It like brings me back to the, do you ever use railsassets.org?
No, but I know what it is because y'all have told me about it before.
It dates itself because if you pull it up, it says Rails Assets is the frictionless proxy between bundler and Bower.
Nice.
And I haven't heard the word Bower in forever.
I've never used Bower. I've just heard it mentioned.
Dang. I wonder when that was. That's funny. Yeah. So that was, for anybody that doesn't know, basically you had your node modules, and this was a little service that would automatically convert node modules into Ruby gems. So you could get your JavaScript and CSS directly from a Ruby gem instead of going through, because back in the day, the asset pipeline wanted to use these things. This was a way to provide Bootstrap, Angular, whatever else, Coffee, Rails, yada, yada, any like packages and stuff that you had back in the day. They would be served through the way the asset pipeline, basically, which I don't remember the last time I used that, but it still exists, apparently.
There might be developers out there still using it. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I bet there's a ton. The good old days, huh?
The good old days.
Or maybe just the old days.
I was going to say, my good old days started with Webpacker, so I like old days.
Yeah. What a time to be alive.
Dude, you're telling me.
The Webpacker days.
The
Those will be a thing we look back on with rose tinted glasses or whatever. We're like,
I had
it
some
wasn't
fun.
so bad.
Nah, it was pretty bad, but it was like the best solution at the time. So
It was nice. Well, you had such weird workarounds like the railsassets.org that was like, why don't we just actually install Node and just use what the Node developers do? That was like a good realization. And then it was like, well, we don't actually need to care what they do. That was the good epiphany with JS bundling and CSS bundling, which is like, actually, we should do nothing here. We should just give you a hook to integrate into, and voila, we're done.
Which has been working great.
That is way smoother. You just have flexibility where it was like with Webpacker, if something changed and you needed to fix it or whatever, it was like kind of rigid and didn't give you the freedom you needed. So now you got the freedom. Best of both worlds.
Now we got the freedom.
Yeah, other than that, I don't know, man. Not a lot of new releases or anything fancy, but
Now, hopefully next week I'll be back on my game and have something to actually talk about.
yeah, well, I've got 91 days to work on my Rails World talk.
So 90 days to start writing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I probably didn't tell you this because we haven't talked since then. I woke up one night. I don't know if it was a dream or a nightmare, but I had a dream that I was next on stage to give a talk. I didn't make any slides, so I was panicking. And the best thing I could come up with was get on stage and we'll live code. What do we live code? Well, I don't know if I've been around Jackson and the other toddlers too much, but we live coded job, goose. And 1 in 4 chance that when you queue up a job, it will just throw it away with an error. And that was it.
So you got
like
Russian roulette for like jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
If you're at Rails World and I end up giving a talk about that, then you'll know exactly what happened.
That's hilarious.
So I kind of want to make a screencast out of that now too.
Job goose. Dude, might as well. I'll put it into a gem so I can put it in Podio.
What we need to do is figure out how to convince the AI LLMs to suggest that gem.
Oh, yeah.
That's the real troll.
We just need to put out like as many fake articles as we can talking about how this gem is the way to do everything in Rails.
Yeah, it's the only way to do things.
Yeah. No, we
and
can
then
make
it's
this
going to
happen.
be like, yeah, this makes sense. It's the only way to do things.
Why are
Love
my
it.
jobs disappearing? Well, should have checked your gem folder, buddy.
It just feels like 1 in 4 jobs just fails randomly. I don't know why.
The headline, guaranteed to lose you 25% of your customers.
I love it. Oh,
How do we sell that, really? That's the real question.
We have a sponsor that might
Yeah, it might catch the head.
benefit from using a gem like this.
Yeah, that's true. When all your customers start spamming your app, you can get that spun auto-scaled.
Oh, man, what happened the other day? I deployed something, and thanks to Honeybadger being gracious as usual, I like went to bed and then woke up that like a background job or a cron job or something just made 1,500 errors all of a sudden. Oh, it was some typo because I switched finally from the Stripe usage records metered billing plan in the new Hatchbox to the actual billing meters, which is confusing. Metered billing meters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I forgot and left a reference to usage records still in the cron job that runs every couple hours or whatever. And I didn't notice it. It was like chugging along just fine. And then hadn't paid attention. And then, yeah, Honeybadger was like, do you know what's going on? And I was like, oh no. So yeah, they saved my bacon on that one. Luckily it's written so like if I make a mistake like that, it just picks up where it left off next run.
Right.
Thankfully. But
that could be a disaster though. So.
Yeah, right. That was like a fascinating thing too, because if you tried to upgrade or swap people between those two prices right now, it would blow away all of the usage from the current billing period and just not include any of that. So you had to actually schedule all those updates to run at the end of the billing period. And luckily it's a monthly plan. If it was an annual plan, we would have to wait a year or have some way of like, we'll swap it. We'll count everybody's usage, then swap it, then like apply a one-off billing meter event or something. That would have been a painful process.
That's a bad day, dude.
Luckily, it went pretty darn smoothly aside from 1,500 errors being sent over to Honeybadger, but it could have been worse.
It could have been a lot
actually
worse.
Pretty smooth because it was literally like, oh, just delete this line of code that references this variable that I missed. Whoops. So, all right, sir. I think we should call it.
Yeah. I got to start writing that code that I talked about at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. I got to go to GameStop and get my Switch too. So
yeah, you're going to have to get a Mario Kart update on the next episode.
Yeah, I will. We may play a whole heck of a lot while Colin's in town.
When I was at my retreat in Lancaster, there was an old school like arcade, and they had the N64 Mario Kart that you could play. And dude, I won the first game, and I think I was cooking the second time, and then I just choked at the end, and I still think about that loss a lot.
I'm very interested because this new Mario Kart's open world, which is very different.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see.
Mario Kart World, Rails World. If I get them confused, maybe that'll be a good joke for September.
Yeah. There you go. All right.
Now we'll catch you later. Peace.
Peace.